Tell me where you are in the province, what community, what riding you happen to be in, if you know. And then tell me what your big issue is in this election. If a candidate came to your door or you met them in the community, what would you tell them is that big issue that's kind of on your mind that you sort of want them to deal with? And Jeff, since we did this last time, tell us. Jeff, you go first.
Hi, I'm Jeff. I'm from Oak Bank. I think our riding is Springfield. And I guess I would talk about or ask the our MP about the silica sand mining that's may or may not come to fruition in the next couple of years. I know there's a sort of a public plebiscite or private plebiscite, whatever, on how people would vote for something like that.
Great. And just out of curiosity, Jeff, are you kind of in favor of that project, a little bit opposed, unsure? Where do you kind of stand on it, if you don't mind me asking?
I think I'd be opposed if someone was to ask me today. There still is a bit of conflicting information left and right. I understand the economics of it, but at the same time, Oak Bank, at least this area, is on an aquifer. We lose that aquifer, everyone loses water, and water issues throughout the province has been front and center for a long time.
Makes sense. Okay, good. Thanks, Jeff. Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura. I'm in Treeherne, and my riding is Agassiz. I would say probably my number one issue is funding for public programs, including education and healthcare.
Okay. Is there anything specific about those two? Like when you think maybe start with healthcare, is there something, healthcare is a huge thing. What about healthcare? Are you looking for?
It feels like we're currently moving towards privatized education, privatized healthcare, which, as we've seen to the south, is not the best. And I don't want to see that happening up here.
Got it. Okay, good. Thanks, Laura. Christian.
I'm Christian. I'm from Oak Bank. My municipality riding is Springfield, same as Jeff's. I think my biggest issue in this election would be for my candidate to sell me on the leader of the party, because I think there's, we're in a democratic society where we vote for our MLA, who is then represented by the leader, and I'd want to know why I should be voting for the leader of the party as opposed to them.
Got it. And are you looking for something specific in a leader? What would be those characteristics you'd be wanting to be sold on?
Loyalty, following through with actual things that are being said, doing the same as what they're saying, and kind of following through with that. Those are some of the biggest ones that are sticking home with me right now.
Okay, good to know. Diana.
Now I'm scared. Okay, Diana Newman. I live in McCreary, or outside of McCreary, on a farm. Biggest issue for me, I feel that I will be a minority in this group. I feel very strongly about all of the freedoms that were taken away from us over the last several years, and that can't happen again. It just can't. So there has to be a way where people can be given the respect and dignity of making their own decisions while the government, do you know what I mean?
Totally.
It's a situation that can't happen again. So that is, for me, I mean, there's so many issues. I care about lots of the things that have already been said, but to me, the underpinning is treat us like adults, not children.
Right.
And that's important.
You're thinking like vaccine stuff, lockdown stuff, maybe other,
all
that. Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
If I'm sick, I will stay home. Don't tell me what. No, no. So all of that stuff, it was very, very awful. And I have to trust that that's not going to be done again.
Okay, fair enough. Good, thanks, Diana. Derek.
Hi there, I'm Derek. I'm from Morris, Manitoba. I am in the Midland riding. The biggest issue for me going into this election is going to be education.
Tell me more. What about it? Big topic.
It is. So once upon a time, education was about, your more of the STEM stuff, actually science, technology, you have your mathematics, you have your reading, you have the essentials. That's what education should be about. There's so much that's going on, but then it gets completely pushed other way or conflated with, and I'm not going to say that, climate change is not an issue, but if you turn your math class into a climate change issue, you're not learning math. These are the essentials for what's going to be carried on to the future. If we don't have properly trained engineers when they finally hit University of Manitoba, Winnipeg, wherever they choose to go, if they can't properly build the devices that we need to control these issues, then we're not solving anything. We're just going to be making the problem worse. So education could be about education. We can cover the topic, but let's not get away from what education is really about. And that really is the basic necessities for us to function properly within society, jobs, and or post-secondary education.
Okay, so a bit of a back to basics approach to education, the curriculum, the focus in the classroom. Is that fair to say? Okay, good. Okay, good. Thanks, Derek. Appreciate it. Lauren, tell me.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I live in Brandon. My riding is Brandon East, and my biggest issue is also education, specifically the overcrowding of classrooms and stuff like that at the moment. So a lot of cuts to education, I suppose.
Okay, and is that kind of a personal issue for you as a parent, as a community member,
Yeah,
a
I work
teacher?
in education, so definitely a personal issue.
Got it. Okay, good to know. Cassidy.
Hi, I'm Cassidy. I live in Winkler and my riding is Morden Winkler. Yeah, I guess my biggest issue too would be education. I am a fifth year education student at the Brandon University. So I am heading into the field and I have done my practicum a couple times and I've noticed a lot of cuts in the funding and a lot of teachers needing help. And that's a big issue for me. But also another issue is that, kind of like Diana was saying, is that there was a lot of problems during the COVID pandemic and a lot of people's true colors came out during the ridings and stuff like that. And I have a big issue with disrespect. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for in the next election is respect, and who is going to give that respect to the people.
Are you thinking respect? Yeah, respect to the citizens, or respect among politicians in question period, or something like that, or all of those.
Both, actually. I think a big issue is the blame game in the leaders in the provincial elections, especially, is that they're blaming other people for doing a lot of things. And really, we need to come together instead of fighting. We need to come together and have that unity.
Okay, got it. Good. Thanks, Cassidy. Andy.
Yeah, I'm Andy. I'm in Landmark, and probably the biggest concern, Dawson Trails are riding here. Probably the biggest concern is to see strong leadership where they're representing Manitoba interests or what needs to take place, and not just kind of what is politically safe or caters to the polls. And that can be both advancing Manitoba's needs, but also pushing back against any federal overstep that may exist.
Okay, so that makes me wonder are you thinking carbon tax or other stuff?
Well, there's a lot. Carbon tax would be one.
Okay.
And trying to come up with a good understanding of that, and understanding just the difference, like what position the province can take legally, and be able to be strong in that and excel in that and represent the needs that are in this province versus just what seems to be the cultural trends.
Got it. Okay. And Mike, last but not least, tell me.
Obviously the amount of seats in Eastern Canada and the decisions made in Eastern Canada based on population, a lot of the choices made are pro-Ontario and using the resources they have, but kind of feel like Manitoba's in the middle, and we do a little bit of what Western Canada wants and a little bit, we're told what Western Canada and what Eastern Canada wants, and we just kind of sit in the middle, and it doesn't really benefit us at all. And we have a low population, so we have 4 people representing us, and a city, say in Ontario, has 27 representatives representing just a city.
Yep.
Homelessness, inability to psychiatric care services in Brandon, Manitoba. After 8 p.m., there's no psychiatric care or evaluation until 8 o'clock the next morning.
Yep.
People cannot get into the Center for Adult Psychiatry without long waiting lists. We do not have a very good network of addiction services, safe injection, And I do feel like we tackle a lot of problems, but the government always asks us for 3 years worth of recordable data so that they can provide us with the adequate funding. By the time the 3 years is elapsed, we're at a 6-year problem.
Okay.
So monies do not align with the inflation rates that have been caused by whatever's going on in society.
Yeah, and the needs out there, it sounds like, in Brandon with some of those mental illness, addictions issues. Yeah, if that kind of captures it, Mike. Yeah.
And then just employment, the disparaging, like you make a lot less money doing the same job in Brandon than if you just moved to Winnipeg.
Okay. Income.
Also, yeah, income diversity. It's not like we have a lot of immigration. Nobody wants to stay in Manitoba, whether they're a nurse, psychiatrist, doctor, social worker, security guard, anything, because a lot of these people have come here, they have no ties to Manitoba. So why not move to Saskatchewan and do the exact same work and make $7 more an hour?
Fair enough. I've heard that from nurses even. That's fair. Okay. Okay, thanks, Mike. Okay, so kind of, I heard some education. I heard a little bit about, sort of leadership and a strong leader who really responds to what citizens need and what they want, even makes the hard decisions. Heard the Silica project. This is quite a diversity of issues, so that's actually really interesting to even start with. So I want to start kind of high up here, and we'll work our way down when we talk about the election. And I want to get a sense from you folks about how you decide who to vote for. What are the things on your mind when you're choosing a party? How do you kind of make that decision? Maybe Diana, could I start with you? Put you on the spot?
Sure, why not? Okay. Well, I did say that I would never vote for, a certain party again, which now I will be voting for, turns out. So sometimes I make emotional decisions. But basically, I hear what they say, and some people can talk and it just resonates with you and it just feels true. It feels right, it feels good. And you think, yeah, I get that. Like that, they understand how I feel.
Yep.
And that's who I want to vote for. Sometimes you don't have that. Sometimes none of the options give you that. And then you pick the one that's the least abhorrent, I suppose. And so there's certain parties I would never vote for because, well, whatever, I don't know how much detail you want. And the ones that speak to issues that are important to me and that kind of resonate with me, that's how I make that choice.
A little bit of issues. But also your gut feeling then, it sounds like, as well.
Very much
of a gut feeling. Interesting.
I do a lot of research. I follow politics a lot. And so my gut feeling is informed by facts. It's not like I just am this emotional blob. But I definitely need to feel some kind of a connection with what they're saying and that they're saying things that speak to what is important to me.
Got it. Okay. Christian, how about you? How do you decide? What are those things you weigh, that list of things?
It's kind of funny because I grew up in a family where it was, my parents were very open about the parties that they were voting for and making myself and my brother kind of understand how voting worked and everything growing up. And we kind of just gradually kept going with that because it was kind of brought into us. As you get older, you start to, like Diane said, you read and you kind of come up with your own opinions. But for the longest time, I've continued to still share that same belief as I was brought up with for the party. But this is the first year that I'm going against that based on just things that I've been told. Or I've heard, and I've really have a distaste from things that have been done for the past few years.
Interesting. Okay. Lauren, how about you? How do you decide? What's that decision-making process for you?
Well, like a few people mentioned, I definitely look at the leaders because I know that whoever I vote for, whatever my MLA, whatever party they belong to, their leader, if they win the election, will be representing us as a province. So that's pretty important to me to see how the leader shapes up.
Okay.
I also look at what the parties have done in the past. So I think someone mentioned like which parties actually stick to their word and try and push through the legislation that they say they want to. So I definitely look and see what bills and legislation certain parties have pushed through in the past and which ones I most kind of align with that way.
Okay.
And then, of course, also what the platform is at the moment.
Okay, makes sense. And Andy, last to you on this question. How do you decide? What's on that list of factors for you?
Well, for me, it's in our riding, like we're a smaller riding, so you can know your candidate, you can know who the MLA is, and so being able to interact with him and being able to feel like you're sincerely, you can have a good dialogue. That's important, but also that he then represents our riding effectively, even if it's. And this is probably the troubling part over the last few years. There seems to be a lessening of the representative's voice and kind of a more of a cabinet voice. And that's a little troubling because then the rural areas, smaller areas kind of get left out in that. And that's a concern that I have, but being able to interact and being able to dialogue with the local MLA is a real plus.
Okay, I saw a lot of nods there. That's interesting. Okay, so here, maybe just give me a show of hands because I heard two interesting things I want to follow up on. I think Diana, you said go. Oh yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Never asked. Sorry.
Go for it. Tell me. How do you vote?
Track record for sure.
Okay.
Obviously, promises can be made, but whether they actually follow through with those things. And then with the current state of the economy, I feel like something has to change. It's been so bad for so long, like nobody can afford to live. So I feel like whoever has been in power hasn't been addressing those needs, and maybe it's time for a change. But also someone that likes to argue, somebody that likes to fight.
Oh,
That's
elbows
who you
up.
want. Someone
Okay.
someone with some honor, but also not going to take what is given to them. They're going to ask for more, or they're going to look for more. And then I really feel like the parties are irrelevant in Manitoba. Back to the seating thing I said, it's a personal, it's really, you want to look at the human being and what they're actually going to do for their community, their riding, the province in general. Like,
Mike, do you look at the local? Go with the person. But Mike, do you look at the local candidate or the leader? Which one is the most?
Well, the local one is more important for me because they're my only voice. Like the rest of Canada is going to decide who's in charge of the country.
Right.
We can only really control Manitoba as a voting. Like, even if every seat in Manitoba.
Oh, Mike, you just muted yourself. Whoops. Oh, yep, you're back. Yeah. Oh, and Mike, I might just. You're just frozen there a little bit, but I might also just remind. You're back. You're good. Yeah. I might also just remind you. We're sort of. Definitely federal issues are going to come into play here, and the federal election, we'll probably talk about that, but we're sort of talking mostly about provincial stuff here, and all the same issues, all the same points I think are valid, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so let me go back to this.
So I might go towards the person more than the party within a province like Manitoba.
Great, okay, good, thanks Mike. Let me do this hand thing with you. Now I've practically forgotten what my two things were here. Okay, I think, Diana, you said that you used to be kind of, pretty comfortable, pretty excited to vote for a particular party, and now you're like, it's the best of a bad lot. How many people feel like they're kind of in a best of the bad lot situation? Okay, I got 5. Oh, that's nearly all of you. So Jeff and Christian, not so much. You feel pretty comfortable about who you might want to vote for? Maybe not excited, but pretty good with it. Christian?
I don't think it's excitement, but I don't think it's, the best of the bad lot. I just think it's, I'm going to vote the way that I want to go with this election, and I'm hoping it goes, but it's not the best of the worst. I'm not picking. I think it's still a good choice, but it's, or I should say it's better than what the choice could have been, but it's not the worst situation.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, now actually it was Christian that gave me my other idea for a question here, which is how many people are actually sort of changing their vote this year? Traditionally you voted for one party and now you're switching. Cassidy, Mike, Derek, Christian. Okay, and the rest of you are kind of going to vote the way you've traditionally. Diana, you're going to switch. Tell me.
Well, no, I can't switch because we don't have a candidate in my riding.
Oh.
I would switch if I could, but I can't.
Okay, interesting. Okay, good to know. Derek, I haven't heard from you yet. Can I ask you kind of the question, which is, are you comfortable telling us how you're going to vote and why?
How I'm going to vote? Well, why is because I vote how my wife tells me.
Smart man.
No, we sit down and we discuss. one of the main things we look for is the party has to align with our views as well.
Okay.
So that's one of the first things we're going to look at, and then after that, we just go into a bit of a history. You know, do they perform? Are they going to do what they say they can do? Are they actually knowledgeable about the topics they say they're going to be fighting for as well? But the biggest one for me, and I noticed this even in we had a local by-election recently. There was a lot of double talk going on, and the people who don't actually want to say yes or no to an issue. If you can't say a definite yes or no to an issue, then I know you're not serious. But as soon as you can tell me a hard yes or a hard no, this is what I believe, this is what I'm going to fight for, then I know you actually have a pair and you're going to fight for us. And that's what I really want to see.
Okay, that's fair. Laura, I haven't heard from you in a second. Tell me, have you decided who you're going to vote for? Are you kind of locked in? Tell me.
Yeah, I know who I'm going to vote for. It's interesting because I'm definitely a strong left-leaning voter, and ideologically, I align with more of a socialist government, which would be NDP. Our last NDP government was not fiscally responsible, and in fact, the recent news that Gary Dewar is joining has made me feel a lot better about that. I think back to when Gary Dewar was leader of the NDP, I felt a lot more comfortable. Unfortunately, where I live, it doesn't really matter who I vote for. And honestly, there's something liberating about that in some ways. I can go and I can vote for whoever I want, and it truly doesn't matter. But at the same time, I would love to have a voice be heard.
Okay.
But
that's fair. And Laura, knowing your area, do you feel like this is a change election? Do you have a vibe that it's a time for change? Or is this let's give the other guys a chance kind of election?
I feel like more and more there's a wanting to change, but I'm not sure if those traditions, I feel like a lot of people here vote based on traditions, and not necessarily based on their ideological values. There's a lot of people who I know vote one way, and yet all of the things that they want changed are all things that the other party stands for. And I think they vote the way they vote for because it was tradition, which is the same thing, just like what Christian said. Everyone in my family voted conservative growing up, and I did too until, I wised up a bit and changed my values and saw really politically where I aligned, which was not that.
Not conservative necessarily. Okay, good to know. Cassidy, tell me your thoughts on this. Have you decided who you're going to vote for? Are you locked in pretty much?
So I did a little bit of research. What I like to do is I look on the candidate websites. Like I look on each of the political party websites. Yeah. And what I noticed is that I don't align with the group that I usually vote for. And so I think that was really interesting because there's there's not a lot of plan. There's a lot of talk and a lot of clicking for the donations. And for me, I need to be able to go towards a place where I know that they have a plan. I know what's going on. So actually, I think I'm going to be changing the strategy that I go with normally.
Okay. Do you mind me asking, Cassidy, do you think you're going to switch your vote from the way you normally would? Vote maybe differently? Could I ask you how you might vote?
Absolutely. So normally my riding is typically conservative, and that's how I voted normally. But I have been really disappointed in how the Conservatives handled the COVID pandemic and everything that kind of happened in that area. So I will be, I think, leaning more left this time.
Interesting.
Which is not typical for me.
Interesting. Okay. So thinking about this campaign so far, we're kind of, maybe 2 weeks in. It sort of started a little bit before the writ was dropped. What stands out for you in this campaign? Is there a promise, a moment, an ad, a conversation you've had that kind of so far is kind of in your head as a little earworm in this election? Jeff, can I start with you? Anything stand out so far?
I don't think anything stands out. I think all the candidates are still very broad brushed in their direction. And there hasn't, I think until the first true debate, that comes up. I think you're moderating for that, are you not?
I am.
That
You political
will
nerd.
really that will really I think give everybody more of a direction on where they stand, where they're going for the people electing. You can see they make all these election promises that are out there. They're very thin on detail. I mean, you have to dig into it a little bit. You know, we're going to promise you this, promise you that. It's going to not happen for 8 years or whatever kind of thing. So I think until that first debate that comes out, that will probably give me more direction. I know how I'm going to vote. It's just how strong I'm going to mark that X.
Ah, interesting. Okay. And Jeff, just while I stay with you for a minute here, is there a promise you've heard that, like, if you had to name one promise from anybody that kind of sticks with you or resonated with you, or is it still a bit of a blur?
No, I mean, all of them have been coming out with just like a shotgun sort of blast of information. They're trying to get as much out there as fast as they can, kind of thing. And until that happens, nothing's really sticking to me except what's happening locally in Springfield.
Okay, good to know. Okay, Diana, how about you? What stayed with you so far in this campaign?
Well, I've done the same thing as others have mentioned. I was looking on the different party websites, and what's something that jumped out at me, I'm not a left-leaning voter. That might have come out already. I saw a sentence on their statement of principles on the NDP website, and it's talking about, like, for every person to give according to their abilities and receive according to their needs. And I went, oh, that sounds really familiar, because it was written by Karl Marx in 1875. So, like, I'm like, they're not even hiding the ball. Like, they're just like flat out quoting Marx's principles. I could never vote for that. So it doesn't matter then. Anything else they would say that sounds good. So that's what really jumped. That I learned that today. I'm just like, whoa. Like, I understand the people who want to vote for them. I totally get it. There's lots of nice sounding things.
Yep.
I understand. But to me, that trumps everything. And then further down, they talk about our purpose as a party is to develop public mandates for, how do they put it, for social change.
So
that's the opposite of what I stand for.
Okay. But you did
so
your
I
own...
won't be voting for them.
Got it. Okay. But now, Diana, you did your own digging, your own Googling. Is there anything
I do a lot of that.
Okay, that's fair. But is there anything in the public realm that stands out? You know, have you seen an ad? Have you seen a bunch of signs?
I haven't seen an ad.
Okay.
There's, like, we have a new candidate this year.
Yeah.
We have and I used to teach with him. Like, I know him a little. He's nice. So, I mean, I've had some really good conversations when I've had the phone call saying, will you be voting for, the PCs? I've had some really good conversations about that. I see, like, I haven't seen an ad. So I do have, like, a potentially good candidate. That's nice. And I like him. He's a good person.
Okay.
And it looks like they want to address some issues like affordability and things like that. I've heard that come up a few times. So I think, well, okay, I don't know how they're going to do that, but that's important.
Okay.
So
that's good to know. Yeah,
that'd be good.
Yeah. Thanks, Diana. That's actually really interesting intel. Cassidy, can I go to you? And then I'll go to Lauren with kind of this question about, like, what's stayed with you in the election. Cassidy, you start.
Okay, so first of all, I have 2 points. One was that Heather Stephenson had said in her thing that she had wanted to work more collaboratively with Indigenous populations and Indigenous communities, but then yet she's refusing to allow people and allow the police to search the landfills. That really stuck with me, because regardless of whatever culture you are, if you have a family member that is potentially there, that is, to me, like, beyond, like, it's incomprehensible to me. And then there was another thing too, where the PCs were sending out, and they're using their funding to send out these cards to people about what Wab Kinew was not doing, and they're using his colors and, like, all of this kind of stuff. And so I'm like, why are you doing this kind of marketing scheme? Why are you putting your money towards bashing other people versus raising yourself up and saying what you're good at?
Okay. I'm seeing some nods there about that kind of negative. Yeah. Mike, can I come to you next? I just want to hear from Lauren just about what stayed with you in this election, and then Mike, I'll come to you. Lauren.
Well, I was absolutely the same as Cassidy, actually. The provincial government's handling of the missing and murdered Indigenous women hasn't really sit well with me, especially lately. I don't think it doesn't seem like a huge ask for me to have them properly look through the landfills and just answer the family's questions and put those thoughts at ease. But so I don't really like how that situation was handled.
Okay.
And I know that the NDP said that they were opening up, I think it was 5 more ERs in our province. I think that's what they said. 4 in Winnipeg, 1 rural Manitoba. I might be wrong about the exact statistics, but they're definitely opening up more emergency rooms. And I think that's something that our province desperately needs. I know that our hospital here in Brandon has been completely like understaffed and overflowing with patients, and the wait times are getting crazy here. I have a few people who have gone in the last couple of years, and it definitely shouldn't have taken as long for them to get seen to as it did. And that's really alarming. So education and health are pretty big issues in my mind. And I just like I like that the NDP seem to have a lot of possible solutions for both of those. And I hope it would be possible for them to actually carry a lot of those out.
Okay, good to know. Mike, tell me quickly, what's resonated in this election?
My whole history of my life, I'm 42 years old. I've never heard the NDP say, I hate the Liberals, I hate the Conservatives. This guy's a terrible human being. This person is like, there's no slander. I've never heard a slander campaign from the NDPs, and I've never actually voted for them either. But Manitoba has a high Indigenous population. Like, why not give an Indigenous leader the reins and see what he can do? Because everything is not good right now. Like, and I'm not even saying I'm voting for him necessarily, but I sure don't like I have a history of incarceration and drug use. Like, you want to throw it in my face? Go ahead. He looks like a fighter.
Oh, Mike, you're just muted. But actually, Mike, that is the perfect segue to this next thing that I want to talk about. And I want to talk a little bit more about the leaders, and I want to start with Wab Kinew, the NDP leader. We've already talked about him a little bit, but this is where that pen and paper moment might come in handy. What I want to do is have you jot down on a pen of paper or use that chat to give me some adjectives about how you would describe Wab Kinew. Some adjectives, some descriptors, some phrases, just 2 or 3. What are the words that come to mind to describe Wab Kinew? I'll give you, maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and then we'll go around and we'll kind of talk about them. Couple more seconds. I feel like everyone's looking expectantly. We're maybe done here. Okay. Andy, can I start with your words? Give me some of those that come to mind.
Well, the first one is smooth. I think he's the smoothest candidate. But at the same time, when I look at and listen to what he's actually saying, I think he's also quite shallow in what he has.
Okay.
So.
And how did you come to that opinion? Like, how did you come to that view?
The positive one or the negative one?
Both.
Okay. Well, I think he's a good communicator. Yeah. He looks good. He comes across well. He's in that respect a good politician. But when he comes out with platform things, they sound good and they're promising, but there's no real depth to it. So to open 5 ERs sounds good, but there's a staff shortage, which isn't going to allow for that. So unless you're going to deal with the staff shortage and the funding shortages, you just can't open 5 ERs and be able to staff them properly without creating other problems. So he comes across and he says the things that are good. He says the things that resonate with people. But if you were able to have a conversation and really drill down, there's not a real depth there of this is how we're actually going to fix the problem.
Okay, good to know. Christian, what are your words and phrases for Wapkidew?
Positivity. I think he's, like Andy said, when he speaks, he's a smoothness to him. There's a positivity. You want to believe what he's saying and what the policies are. I think that another word I wrote down was forward thinking. I think he's got a lot of really big aspirations that he wants to kind of steer the province to and things to. I think there needs to be a little more substance on the bone in order to to back up or maybe communicate a little more of that those big the grand plan, just how it's going to be executed.
Okay. And Christian, do you think he's like trustworthy? Would you trust him to run the province?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Laura, I was going to go to you next, so perfect. Tell me, give me your words.
My big word is experience. And in research and in policy, we talk about connecting with people who have living experience of the policies you're enacting. And governments enact policies that disproportionately impact those who have been pushed to the side by society. Mm-hmm. And so having someone out there who has a connection to these communities and will value hearing their voices, because most of the 1% are very minimally impacted by policy. And yet these policies really hurt a lot of people. And so having that connection is really important to me. And sorry, the daytime, nighttime
that's
transition.
Fine. It actually is perfect. That's good. Yeah. Laura, do you have any negative feelings? Is there anything that's not great about WAB that's kind of keeping you up at night at all?
As I'm growing older, no. I used to have qualms about his, rapping that he had when he was little, but then I grew up and was like, who doesn't have regrets?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
He's young and he went through things and now he's helping his community. So, no.
That's fair. Totally fair. Thanks, Laura. Jeff, tell me, what are those words and phrases?
I think he's punching above his weight kind of idea. I don't connect with WAB at all kind of thing. I'm going to vote PC, which is really funny because federally I vote Liberal. So it is all about the leader for me. Honestly, I think Wapkidew should try city politics before he jumps into provincial politics. I have this impending feeling of doom. If and when he's elected, he's going to crumble. There's going to be a lot of pressure in provincial politics, and I don't think he's going to handle it very well.
Okay. Do you think he's, if you have some qualms about his experience, his ability to handle, some of those tough decisions, do you think he's, credible and competent? Could he learn on the job if he's elected?
I think if he has, good backing with his caucus and with those people that are guiding him, either in any policy way, obviously he's going to be the face of the party and the face of the province. So providing that he has good backing, he's going to be manageable, but I don't have the confidence in him at all.
Okay, that's fair. Derek, tell me, words and phrases.
I would say survivor. Just based on his history, where he grew up. I believe he's from Kenora. I am of Métis descent. The other side of me is Ukrainian. I've experienced very similar issues in life, and for him, when he comes across saying this is what we're going to do, just like was previously said, it's one thing to say it, but if you can't say how you're going to do it, then it's just shell. You can open up the ERs, but the reason we don't have them is because of the shortage. You can say you're going to help the schools, but if we don't have people to put in the schools, if we don't have the funds for these things, it's not going to happen. You can help the homeless people. You can try and solve all these different types of issues, but it takes more than just money to solve them. There's significantly more issues that are happening on the fundamental level within our cities, towns, our RMs. That can't just be fixed with money. They have to be fixed with, people and caring and different types of experience.
Yeah.
And you can't just say this is going to happen.
Do you think Wapkidew has that experience, that competence to be able to make good on some of those things he's talked about, or do you have some qualms?
Well, from your previous statement as well, I would say anybody can learn how to do something on the job, but are you going to learn how to do this and make it a success? Or are you just going to learn how to say this better next time so you keep getting elected?
Fair enough. Okay. Thanks, Derek. Diana, tell me, give me those words and phrases.
First, I have to say I love what Derek just said. Love, love, love. And I wrote it down. And because that's something that's very important to me too. Throwing money at it does not solve the problems.
Okay.
You need all those things he mentioned. So good job. I love it. Words. I wrote warm. I haven't met him, but I have friends that have had dealings with him and they adore him. He's really friendly. He helped them with a very bad problem. And just he comes across very warm, very charming. For me, charming's not a compliment though, because it has a hint of untrustworthiness.
That's
So
smooth.
not trustworthy is my
That
third word.
smoothness. Yeah. Okay. That Andy talked
Yes.
about. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So,
keep going.
but he has, I mean, he legit really helped a friend when the Dauphin jail closed, and it didn't help him. He's not even politically, it's not even NDP, it's PC.
Yep.
So, I mean, he helped somebody that didn't do him any good to help, really. And it wasn't on the news, it wasn't a photo op.
But
So,
Diana, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm pretty sure you're not going to vote NDP.
no,
But you still
no,
have
never.
some, you still have some, kind of warm feelings about Wab Canoe. That's kind of interesting.
I have warm feelings for how he helped my friend.
Okay,
Yes.
fair enough. Okay,
'Cause
fair enough.
That's legit.
Fair
But
enough.
I don't trust him myself anyway. I don't trust. And what I don't remember the name is Laura. She said how she used to have a problem with the rap stuff.
Yeah.
I did too. I don't know if I still do. It just gives me like an underpinning of like,
Okay.
So I don't, but I wouldn't vote NDP anyway, so it doesn't really matter
Fair enough.
what I
Okay.
think.
Okay, great. Okay, Cassidy, I'm watching the clock here. I'm going to keep us moving here. Cassidy, tell me those words.
No problem. I think smooth is a good way to describe him as well. I think charismatic in like Diane was saying before, not necessarily a compliment, but like just an observation. When I was looking on the website for the NDP, I did have some initial not gut wrenching, but like not really great feelings about it. Because the first sentence he says is Heather Stephenson wants to divide us. And to me, that is not necessarily the first sentence that you want. Look, I'm a university student. I'm an English major. When you're trying to come at something, you want to convince the audience that you're the best person, not that the other person is worse than you, or you know what I mean, or that this person isn't good. So like, let's get them out of there. Like I'm the better person.
Yep.
You want to just help yourself up rather than pushing somebody else down.
Fair enough. Yeah. Mike and then Lauren. Mike, give me those words and phrases.
Resilient, proud, and connected.
Okay.
But with the charismatic thing, this just kind of came up just from other people's comments. Charisma is a good thing in a leader because he has to go against other people that are hiding what they're actually doing too. So you actually want that charismatic speaker fighting for you.
Yeah.
And just a side note, of the three, Wab Canoe is the only one I'd want over at my house.
Oh,
Like,
interesting. Okay.
But I'm not necessarily saying I'm voting for him though. But he's the only one I'd hang out with of the three.
Mike, anything
I would-
negative about Wab Canoe? Anything that gives you qualms or makes you rub you the wrong way?
Is like everyone said about the ERs and stuff, like, and he has said they're going to produce 10,000 jobs, but like I said earlier, nobody wants to stay here anyways. We can make 10,000 jobs. Like I can post 10,000 jobs at McDonald's. If nobody takes them, it's irrelevant.
Fair enough. Okay.
Like, and I think he has great ideas, but not enough funding to make them happen. And so I appreciate that, but I know people would be angry. Sorry, I almost swore. Would be angry that he didn't follow through with his promises because I think he has good intentions, but I don't know that it's financially possible.
Fair enough. Okay. Lauren, last word to you on Wab Canoe. Give me those words and phrases.
Okay. I said controversial, determined, and resolute.
Okay. Why controversial?
So controversial, I feel like out of maybe not more than Stephenson now that she's premier, but I feel like before Stephenson was elected, Wab Canoe was probably the most controversial of the party leaders, just because of some of his like personal history and stuff like that, some of just like the divides over the party too as well. So I put controversial. I put determined because he's been the party leader for quite a while, and the party does tend to, at least as far as I know, stick to their guns, even if they can't absolutely follow through like people are saying. I feel like they're pretty set in their positions and stuff like that. And then Resolute, pretty much the same thing.
Okay, good to know. So Laura and Diana kind of hinted at this, some of Wob's past, his run-ins with the law, some of the things he did when he was younger. Is this a deal breaker for anybody that's considering voting for him? Laura, you've said you've made peace with it. Derek, for you, is that a deal breaker?
No, we all have things in our past. That doesn't mean that's who we are in the future.
Okay. Andy, I suspect probably Wob is not going to be the person you vote for, but tell me if I'm wrong, but is that past a deal breaker for you?
Yeah, probably not going to vote for him,
Yeah.
but to me, it's far enough in the past that and how he's lived, the last number of years is more a reflection that I would evaluate anyways.
Okay.
So that's not an issue for me.
Okay, good to know. Christian, how about you? Deal breaker, or have you sort of made peace with it?
Yeah, no, it's not a deal breaker. You look at our neighbors to the south, and something that happened so far along in the past, and things that are happening there in the current. I can't believe. No, it wouldn't be a deal breaker at all.
Okay. Do you folks think Wob Canoe understands issues beyond the perimeter? Issues in Brandon, issues in Midland, issues in... Yeah, Laura, tell me.
Yeah, like I said, he has a connection to the community and he's Indigenous. And rural Indigenous people are extremely impacted by government policies.
Right.
And I think he has that connection to all of those people. Even Diana said he helped someone out in Dauphin. That wasn't even his riding.
Yeah.
And of all of them, he's probably the most connected outside of the perimeter.
Okay, good to know. Okay. Diana, how about you? Do you think a pretty urban guy? Tell me, yeah.
He was at their house, and they have 9 dogs, and they live in a Métis community here. So yeah, he's super chill, super cool, very not everybody can see outside the perimeter, so that I give him credit for.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things we've heard is whether or not Manitoba is ready for a First Nations premier. What do you folks hear?
I don't think
hours.
I don't think most people care.
Okay.
Like, that's not an issue.
Okay.
It's like, for me and for people I know, I've never heard of people citing that as a concern. I'm just not an NDP person.
Fair enough. Jeff, have you heard that? Have you, in your travels in your community, have you heard qualms about the fact that he's Indigenous or questions about that? Jeff?
Some of the coworkers that I'm with, there's definitely some, pause on, it, but it quickly goes away, kind of idea, because it will boil down to, how you can lead and what your performance is going to be like. That's how you'll be judged as the premier. Again, it's going to be about confidence. It's going to be about... people talk about the charisma and all the stuff like that. I'm looking towards more of a pragmatic, professional leader. You know what? I would vote NDP if it was somebody else, honestly. But I cannot, for whatever reason, connect with him. I agree with some of the stuff that he wants to do, but I don't know. There's a disconnect there that I just can't get my head around.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, Jeff, I know Gary Dewar's name has come up, and as people noted, it's come up this week in the campaign. Would you have been more comfortable with Gary Dewar? Was that somebody that you were kind of connected with a bit more?
It was nice to see him on the television again. The guy's 80 years old now, and he aged really well. He still has that connection on television. But Gary Dewar was a politician from a couple of decades ago.
Yeah.
The world is a very different place now.
Okay. I know we got to move on to Heather Stephenson here, but I just want to have one little check with you folks. What about, we've talked all about Wob Canoe. I know probably the leader is top of mind. What about the rest of his team? Caucus, the other MLAs, the candidates. What do you know about them? How do you feel about them? Derek, can I ask you that question?
I'm not familiar with a lot of this. Anybody else within the party?
Okay, that's fair. Cassidy, how about you? Any names pop to mind? Anything you know about them?
Actually, no.
Fair.
I mean, like I said before, the riding in my area is more conservative, so that's kind of who we tend to talk about more. But yeah, it's really just Wabkanu that is spoken about.
Kind of top of mind. Yeah, Christian, how about you? Any other MLAs you think about? Do you think the party itself is ready to govern?
No, I think it's the same as I'm the same riding, kind of not the same riding, but the same situation as Cassidy. We're a very PC riding. It's been for a very long time. Nothing's going to change with that. So yeah, I don't know. He's kind of the face of the NDP and the ridings for me. I don't know anyone else.
Okay, fair enough.
Recognition name wise.
Okay, let's do the same thing for Heather Stephenson now. So I'm just gonna shut up for. Oh yeah, Mike, real quick. Yeah, tell me real quick.
What? Just to it doesn't seem like the NDPs have any funding. Do they not have funding to slander other people? Do they not have funding for signs? Like, it's always been that way in Canada. Like, there's always PC and liberal stuff everywhere, and I don't care one way or another. But it seems like the NDPs don't promote themselves.
Do you
which,
see?
In a way,
do you see signs in your neighborhood? Are you seeing flyers? Are you seeing Laura neither? No, okay.
I haven't seen it.
When I lived in Winnipeg, yes.
But not so
in
much
Winnipeg,
now.
When out here, it's that kind of like they're just like, why
not
bother?
gonna win, so why try?
Yeah. Lauren, tell me.
The NDP are on like radio, television, internet. I see them on my Instagram feed. They're all over the place.
Okay.
I see one tiny little sign here in Oak Bank for the NDP, and that's it.
Interesting. Okay. Mike and then Lauren.
The only NDP sign I ever remember in Brandon, Manitoba was for Arrow Black, whenever that was.
Ooh.
However long ago that was. That's the
day.
only NDP sign I ever remember seeing.
Okay, good to know. Lauren, tell me.
Yeah.
Sorry, thanks, Mike. Lauren.
I absolutely agree with that. I would say that this election is the first time I've ever seen something different. So Glenn Howard, I know, is the NDP electoral candidate in my riding, because this is the first time I've ever seen his signs were out first this year. They are all over the boulevards, all over the lawns. I was really I don't pay too much attention to a lot of the parties' signage and everything like that, but this year was definitely the first time I noticed NDP advertising took a big jump forward, and it was definitely the more noticeable. And then the PCs caught up a day or two after that. So.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, and sorry, just before we get to Heather Stephenson, are people getting visits from candidates? Are you seeing signs like Lauren is, or are you a bit more like Mike, where you're like, where's the campaign? Andy, are you seeing signs in your neighborhood? Have you had a knock on the door?
No knocks on the door, very few signs.
Okay.
We do have the PC ones. He's been the MLA for a while. I did meet the NDP guy. I can't remember his name right now. And really nice guy. And I would say probably a moderate NDP, but very, I think comes across very well. But he'll just be overridden here with the blue.
Okay, fair enough. Derek, give me the last word on that. Are you seeing signs, knocks on doors, flyers, stuff in Morris?
Every time I go into town, we have one sign. It is not for the NDP candidates. During this election, I have not met a single person, but the one that we had in the by-election, the person who was running actually came to where I am. I got to talk with them, but for this one, nothing.
Okay, interesting. Good to know. Okay, let's get to Heather Stephenson. So I want you to do the same thing. Just take a few minutes on your own. Think about those words and phrases that you would use to describe Heather Stephenson, the Premier, the Tory leader. And I'll just shut up, and then we'll go around the circle one more time. Maybe I'll start with Derek. Can I start with you?
Sure.
Heather Stephenson, give me those words and phrases.
I would say candid. There's a lot of people that they say she doesn't have a lot of personality. The word previously was charisma. But, for me, I want to know how it is. I don't want someone to fluff me saying, you know what, this big spiel and, all this side talk and double talk and everything else, and then never actually tell you what the answer is. You know what? I like her because it doesn't matter how much flack she'll get for just saying how it is. That is really it, because the facts don't care about your feelings.
Okay.
So just tell me the facts. I'm a big boy. I can live with it, but I want to know what it is. Just tear that Band-Aid off. And I really like her for that.
Interesting. Great. Okay. Diana, tell me, what are your words and phrases for Heather Stephenson?
Good quote there, Derek. Okay. I wrote quiet because personality-wise, as he said, she is fairly quiet. And I read in an article just a couple of days ago, she herself says she always has liked to be kind of in the background. Yeah. And so she's let the MLAs make some announcements and stuff that normally the leader would make. And I think that's really good. Like, that makes me like her more, because she's not a, oh, look at me kind of person. She seems quite serious, which, I mean, it's not gonna wow the voters, unfortunately, but she seems quite serious and solid, like dependable, maybe not overly imaginative, and she's not going to come up with the most inspired ideas maybe, but I think she's solid and kind of the opposite of what the concerns with Bob Canoe have been. Like, she's probably all substance, but not a lot of style. But substance matters more to me.
Okay.
So.
Okay, interesting. Okay. Christian, words and phrases, Heather Stephenson.
I to kind of contradict that or go against what Diana said. I think, she is she's self-proclaimed shy, and she's let her MLAs do the announcements for her, but there is a time where you need to be the leader, and you need to be the one that's inspiring people and be the face. You got into politics, and I agree with letting others share in growing behind you, but you also need to be the face of that party, and you need to be the one that's in front of everyone. That's one of the things that I didn't like. I put uninspiring. There's times where I find that she's just uninspiring with some of the things she says, how she says things. And I put hypocritical. She says some things that she says that she's they're going to do, and then does the complete opposite.
Like what? What comes to mind there?
I'm going to look at just this last where she's the Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries went on strike, and there was a wage freeze. But it gives herself and her party more of a wage freeze than she was going to for the Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries. That's the first one that just sticks out, maybe because it's recent, but you can't do something like that. And when you have all these provincial workers, and not do it for them too.
That's fair. Okay. And Christian, just before, I'm going to go to Laura next, but Christian, if you got a light on your desk, I would just pop it on, because you're kind of the head in the darkness there a little bit. But yeah, that'd be great.
Fading to black. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Laura, tell me.
I mean, to be honest, I'm probably going to be a bit more candid than others. I would say she's disingenuous, selfish, and cruel.
Oh, cruel. Why cruel? That's a big word.
She just seems to not care about people who need help at all. And I mean, this party in general, like Mike had brought up, like safe injection sites and harm reduction, and this government does not care about people who need help. And people who use drugs are people who have been marginalized and have been hurt by political policy, and then to just kind of be brushed aside. And then there was that time that Wob had brought up an Indigenous woman who had died in the House and had gone on about it. And the first thing that she said was, I want to congratulate my son and myself and other hockey moms. That was harsh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. That was harsh. That was completely socially unaware and just unacceptable.
Okay, so
brutal.
Brutal. Who said brutal? Mike, did you say brutal?
Sorry, I did. Sorry,
Christian, Yeah. Okay, fair. Okay, and Diane, I saw you nodding as well. But Laura, if I can just nudge you a little bit, she is Manitoba's first woman premier. Is there anything about her that you find
and that hurts me so much? But she's the typical white woman riding the privilege of that and not connecting to people who need help. She does not represent me as a woman.
Okay.
And it is really too bad, but here we are.
Fair enough. Okay. Jeff, tell me, words and phrases.
I think she's prudent. She's professional. She's a grown-up playing in a grown-up role. I see that all the time, and I don't think she's had enough time to sort of correct everything of the past leader that we had. Those are some big holes to repair, unfortunately. And the 2 years that she had, she needs more time to sort of get the party and get the direction going in the right way. But I do think she does need to handle those scandals and those gaffes that do pop up. She needs a little bit more of a human touch.
Fair enough.
When she's talking about stuff like that.
Okay. Okay. Lauren, words and phrases.
I said out of touch and silent and unelected. So out of touch, kind of the same thing that Laura was saying. I just feel like I don't really connect to her.
Mhm.
I don't feel like she has a big public presence, to be honest. Like a few others said, like she's letting her party take a lot of the lead on a lot of things. And just because she's in the leadership position, that's not necessarily something I want from a provincial leader, especially the premier.
Yeah.
So I feel like I don't really know a lot about her because she does prefer to sort of slip under the radar when she can and allow the party image to take a lot of the hits or do a lot of the pushing that maybe she should be doing herself.
Okay.
Same with what Jeff was saying, the PR training. I think she could use maybe a little bit more of that.
Okay.
Just to connect and resonate with some more voters and handle the hurdles that the party's had. With silent, that kind of plays into it. Like I feel like I said, she takes steps back. She prefers not to speak when she maybe doesn't have to. And then unelected, that's just because I don't like how our government system works personally. I don't like the fact that when Brian Pallister stepped down as our premier, we as a province didn't get to have a say really. I mean, I know we did vote obviously for the Conservatives in the past election, and it's the Conservative Party's right to anoint their new leader as our premier. I know how the system works. I'm not a personal fan of it. So
Fair
I
enough.
don't like that our current premier she's still elected as an MLA, obviously, but not.
At
We
large.
talked about how when we're voting, we think of the party leader a lot
Yeah.
when we cast our vote. So it just doesn't sit totally right with me.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay. Cassidy.
Yeah, I said quiet, because I don't really have a lot of good things to say, I guess. I know when people have said, well, yeah, she's the first woman, yeah, that doesn't mean anything. When you're a politician, you need to pull up your pants and you need to get going. And that is exactly, she did the opposite of that. For instance, they're talking I know Wab Canoe was talking about opening 3 or 4 new ERs. Well, who were the ones that closed those ERs? Those are the PCs. And then she says or I don't know if she says it, but it says on the website, healing the healthcare system. So how are you doing that by closing the ERs? Another thing was with the Indigenous thing where she wants to work more collaboratively with the Indigenous communities, but then refuses to let the police search the landfills.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's just a lot of hypocritical things that are happening here, and I'm just not for it. And it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's a woman or a man. I'm going to take the same heat from anybody, but it is what it is.
That's fair. Yeah. Andy, and then Mike. Andy.
Yeah, Christian actually stole my word. I had uninspiring, and so I'm trying to be hopeful for her. So my hope is that she's a chess player, that she's a mastermind that's going to pull something out of the hat that we're going to be wowed by. But I haven't seen that yet. So there's a lot of indifference, but I understand personality and how you come across. I'll give some grace there, but I'd like to see some substance.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, Andy, is this is it kind of a style issue, or is it her values don't quite align with yours? Is it a question of competence? Because I think you're still going to vote Tory, but it doesn't sound like you're totally sold on Heather herself.
Right. I don't feel like, and this comes across in the way she communicates, but also with the substance that they have. I don't feel like they have a plan, like they have a direction.
Right.
It's, we're going to do what we need to do to get elected. We're going to do what we need to do to have the, good PR. And I think we're not afforded that right now in this time in history, that we need some real work to be done. And I hope that, again, that she's a mastermind that has a long range plan, but if she's playing the short game, it's not going to work.
Fair enough. Okay, Mike, last to you real quick.
Hypocritical, and obviously because of the Indigenous thing that I think Cassidy brought up. And then obviously I think if she were to win, it's basically because of her party and the entire backing she has. Like, I don't want this to sound too mean, but she's arrogant, or a coward, or flat, or strange, or eclectic, like some mix, or hillbilly. I'm sorry. Manitoba has a problem of hillbilly politicians in general, I believe, and they're very backwards thinking, I feel. So something about her, she just doesn't seem trustworthy. She seems like a trophy wife hockey mom. That only her kid matters. As long as my kid gets as long as I got food on my table, screw the world.
Christian, can I go to you just to build on that? Thanks.
It was just a really quick thing, but I saw an article today, and she was the least popular premier in Canada. And this wasn't the first time. This has been consistent. So, it's not just Manitobans seeing this. This is, her as a leader. Yep. Others are seeing this in these kind of polls too.
Christian,
is
there something she could do to kind of change your mind a little bit? Like, what could she do to maybe kind of bring you around and make you consider voting for the Conservatives? Christian?
I don't know with her as the leader, to be honest. And, I was grown up as a PC person, and her as the leader, we've kind of touched on some of the things that have really hit it. And before the election even started, you've got members of her own party that are, retiring, saying they're not running for re-election. It's almost felt like they're just jumping out of the ship because they feel like it's going down.
Okay.
And so, you kind of look at, you don't quit the team, you quit the coach. And it's kind of interesting how that played out.
Yeah. Is she
In that
better?
regard,
Go ahead. Yeah, Laura, tell me.
I was going to say, there does sound like there is a fair amount of sexism going on there. Again, the fact that she's a woman means nothing to me. I don't like her. But the fact that she's the least popular premier among, within Canada, whereas we know there are some premiers in Canada that are really terrible. It's probably because she's a woman and they don't know a lot about her. But at the same time, she's not deserving of much more, in my opinion.
That is a fascinating question. How much do you think our views about her, which range from really don't like her to got some qualms about her? How much do you think that is about being a woman in politics? Diana, tell me.
Can I answer a slightly different question, but related?
Sure.
I think I don't think it's because she's a woman. I think it's because, like, a lot of people are just really mad at Pallister. And to me, she seems like the handpicked, this is my replacement. And it doesn't matter how fair the leadership, there was some stuff that went on with the leadership vote and they kicked someone out like the day before, whatever. Somebody wasn't allowed to run as the leader. And then it was between her and Shelley Glover. And then she won. Oh, big surprise. I have no idea. It probably was fair. I don't know. But you can never get rid of the sense that she was the handpicked one that was supposed to take over after Pallister, and then she did. Do you know what I mean? So that it just feels like she's Pallister 2.0, and that doesn't help her.
Okay.
I think a fresh start would have helped her, been better for the party.
Is she better? Yeah, Laura, tell me.
That same nepotism would benefit a dude, though, right? There's lots of handpicked dudes that fall in and it's fine. But I think that the implicit bias that she experiences is not much different than the implicit bias that Wab Canoe experiences because he's Indigenous.
Interesting.
Yeah. But, like I don't think that race, sexual orientation, or anything should factor into your decision at all. You're looking for a leader to lead what you want. Whether there's proud and powerful women that are much stronger than millions of men I know, and there's men that have 10,000 times the compassion of some heartless women I know.
Yeah.
There should be no expectations on their sexual identity, gender, or race that factors into your decisions. Otherwise, that's a personal problem,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
But it is part of politics. These kind of implicit
True.
biases, But Diana raised actually another question I wanted to ask, which is Heather Stephenson better than Brian Pallister or worse? Maybe Derek, can I ask you that question? Mike, doesn't matter to you. Derek, how about you?
It's a very interesting conundrum to say if one is better or one is worse. I would definitely say that this is not a gender ideal kind of thing. This is a matter of meritocracy. Can someone do the job or can someone not do the job? For me, she is doing the job. There's a lot of things she's got to learn on the fly because she's never been in a position like this before. Yep. And should she get in again, now she already has that much more experience. Now, this would be like the other party members. If they have yet to be a leader and hold this position, then we're going to be taking a step back because now they're going to have to learn the ropes before they get to carry on to where this person already is. So as far as, things go, she didn't have the opportunities that the previous person had, and they do have a lot of experience. These are very big shoes to fill. She's doing the best that she can, and everyone deserves a chance.
Okay, fair enough. Jeff, how about you? Better or worse than Brian Pallister in your view?
I think Pallister started strong, but he faded really, really terrible the last 2-3 years that he was in power. I'm glad to see that he's gone. He was a national embarrassment to the party and to Manitoba, crying on television, national television, international television. He really looked poor, kind of idea. I think Stephenson has some big shoes to fill. She's got some big holes to cover, and I think 2 years she needs more time. So for that, yeah, she's way better than Pallister.
Okay, interesting. Okay. Let me just see if I have any other questions about Heather Stephenson. Maybe we'll just talk quickly about a couple of issues. We will talk a little bit about the Liberals. I'll save a few minutes for that. But just in terms of issues, a couple of you mentioned education as a big issue that's kind of key in your minds. Is there one of those parties that you think has a better record on education that will fix the things that need fixing in education? Diana, you're shaking your head. How come?
Oh, I'm a teacher. Well, quasi-retired. I substitute now, but I work in a lot of different schools. I've worked in different parts of the province, lived on reserve, off reserve, like whatever. I've worked in lots of different schools. And whoever said about basics, we need to learn the basics, that person, 100% I agree with. We're so busy with like throwing money at things and programs and this and that. And oh my goodness, that's not the answer. And neither party, like what the Conservatives have done, and yes, I know I'm a Conservative voter. I still get really mad at them. What they've done with education or what they're currently doing, I don't know how they're going to, I won't bore you with the details, but there's some stuff that's going to be happening that they have changed. They want to change with how we bargain and everything else. I don't see an answer. To me, it's like they've created an unsolvable problem that's going to be super expensive that I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. And the different committees, and my friend was on that one really big education committee where all the decisions had been made in advance. So really everybody on the committee didn't have any input.
Oh, are you talking about the education review that happened a couple years ago?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
My friend was on that. He's a retired teacher.
Okay.
And I mean, he said it was all a foregone conclusion. None of his input mattered. None of his input was included. And it was all done in advance. And teachers generally really don't like it. Now, a lot of people don't like teachers. I get that. But
Diana, knowing that you're going to be probably a Conservative voter, it sounds like. Do you have faith in the Conservatives to kind of right that ship on education?
No.
Not so much. Okay.
No, but I would vote for the new up-and-coming party if I had a choice.
Okay.
And I can't, so.
Are you talking about the Keystone Party?
Keystone, yeah.
Oh, yeah, so you have no Keystone person in your riding.
We don't have one, but I love their leader is an amazing man.
Oh, okay,
and I can't vote for him because, pardon me?
Is the Keystone Party on anybody else's radar as a potential?
I don't think they're in the right ridings for it.
Okay, maybe.
Uh,
Yeah, Mike, tell me.
The only thing, like I did a little research, and like the only thing that I have from them really is that they're going to do 10% off the hydro, same as every party promises to do. So again, that feels like one of those empty promises that everyone
Okay.
just threw down on paper to get the vote going.
Fair enough. Okay, okay. Is the
They only
Keystone?
have 4 candidates right now.
Okay, got it.
So,
Okay, so maybe
yeah.
not in everyone's riding. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, just back to education. Lauren, I just want to hear from you. Do you, knowing that you're probably leaning NDP, do you have faith in the NDP to kind of right the ship on education, if that's your, those class sizes that you mentioned? What do you
Oh,
expect
sorry,
them-
you said Lauren?
Lauren, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm not really, I don't know if it's so much that I have faith in any particular party based on their track record. I just know that the trends that I'm seeing now and that I've seen for the last several years, the direction that we've been going in is absolutely not good. And I really don't think that the party will change that much if they are reelected, our current government.
Okay.
So I think we just, I mean, I don't want to elect a party that's gonna make it even worse, but I really don't like the way that things are right now. And I'm seeing teachers struggle, I'm seeing students struggle from class sizes being far too big. Not enough supports, like people said. Like it's always money issues when it comes to schools. There's not enough funding, there's not enough full-time teacher jobs, there's not enough EAs, right? There's not enough assistive technology, things like
Yep.
that. So yeah, it's not necessarily party specific, but I don't like that we've had a current party for the last 7 or so years. That's quite a long time. Some change could have been enacted in that time, I believe, even especially during COVID. And I just don't think that the trend's going in the right direction, so I want something else.
What about healthcare? We haven't really talked about healthcare. That's supposed to be one of the big issues in this election. Yeah, Mike, tell me quickly about healthcare.
I actually forget right now who wants to put mental health as part of, like, considered part of Medicare.
Yep.
I can't remember which party wants to do that, but I guess I'm obviously for that, because a lot of all of our other issues are stemming from that bottom line mental health concern. So
Yeah.
if we can solve the problem at the point, we kind of eliminate the 7 other steps, like the addiction, the homelessness, those other issues. Like, tackling problems at the source would be nice by anyone, I guess, is what
That's
I'm
fair.
saying.
Okay, fair enough. Andy, how about you? Is healthcare even on your radar?
It is, just because I see all the problems and hear different people who are having problems, and I think the pandemic just demonstrated that the system was so fragile that it didn't take much to cripple the whole thing. What troubles me is that all the solutions I'm hearing is just keep doing what we've always done. And as soon as you bring up an alternative of a workable solution, it gets labeled as two-tier, it gets labeled as discriminatory. But I know just in the area we are, the number of people that travel down to Grand Forks or down to Mayo for services because the wait times are so long here.
Yeah.
So I look and go, why can't we somebody needs to dig in and rework the system so that it's more efficient in what it's doing. And they're going to take all kinds of bad PR. They're going to be maligned in every way till Sunday. But somebody's got to do something that will be seen as drastic. But it's just not working right now.
Yeah. Okay. And Derek, how about you on healthcare? Do you feel like it's just not working, or?
Well, in Morris, they did shut down our ER, but something that could kind of fix both sides. So I'll include education inside of this, inside of everything that a political party does. No one ever steps up and says we were wrong. There is no accountability anywhere we go. So on the education side, we stepped away from a meritocracy. On the healthcare side, we're afraid of hurting someone's feelings. We try a policy, it may help 1 or 2 people. Then we try something else, but we don't get rid of the old problem. We don't try and learn from our mistakes. We don't say, hey, we tried this, it didn't work, but here's what we've learned. Here's what we want to try next. There's no proper research that gets involved in any of this. So we can't fix things by always putting a Band-Aid on the previous problem. This dam has already broken, and now this is what we have.
Okay, that's fair. I just want to touch, we got to talk about Douglas Lamont. I'm going to do that in 2 seconds. I just want to touch on another thing that hasn't come up that surprises me a little bit, which is this issue that the Conservatives have talked about parental rights and the rights of parents to know about a kid. Oh, Laura's eyes are like, oh my God, we're going to talk about this. The rights of a parent to know if their child is using different pronouns in schools and that sort of thing. Is that even on anybody's radar? Is there a reason this hasn't come up? Okay, Laura, start, and then I'll go to Jeff. Tell me.
I am extremely against the PC's stance on this.
Okay.
I think that suicide and depression among children that identify as 2S LGBTQIA is astronomical. And all of the research that we have, which is a lot, we have a lot of research showing that schools that incorporate SOGI policies and visible displays of support, and where the kids have somewhere where they can feel safe, even if their parents are not supportive of who they are, is beneficial because it's who they are. And so having a parent be able to say, no, you have to use the non-chosen pronouns of my child is extremely harmful for potentially the only safe space that that child has.
Okay. Mike, I see your hand, but
Yeah,
I just tell me quickly.
Because obviously, anybody that's using that information, like a parent that's using that information, is using it probably to beat that out of them. They're not using it for something like you should know your own children well enough that you don't need the school system to get involved in telling you whether they're declaring as something else.
I see Christian nodding a little bit. So that's one side of the spectrum. What is there? Does anybody have a little bit? This is your "don't be too Canadian" moment. Anybody feel a little bit differently? Yeah, Diana.
I've been a teacher for a long time, and I've had all sorts of kids of all descriptions. And what, I don't remember your name, I'm sorry, Mike, what you just said is very true. Parents know their kids. I don't have to be told. I don't need a directive from on high saying you must call this kid this name. I just deal with the kids as individuals. And, some of them are pretty unique. Well, actually, and today, I had a kid who there's accommodations made for them. It's not a big deal. It's just so not a big deal.
Interesting.
I'm a sub. I don't know if the parents are in on what the school does or not in this case, but it's like not a big deal. And so I don't agree with Laura at all, but I also do, because to me it's about treating the kid in the way that's gentle and supportive for the kid, but I really am against leaving parents out of the loop. That
interesting.
I think is terrible.
Okay,
Because,
so kind of both. Yeah.
It's possible to care about parental rights and care about the kids. It's not one or the other, and I don't understand why that conversation always comes down to this or this.
Okay.
It isn't. And I'm like quite like a screaming right wing, I should be horrible. No, like I treat the kid what that kid needs.
Okay, fair enough.
Right? I'm still a right wing conservative, total, I treat the kids gently and the way they need to be treated, because that's what good teachers do.
Fair enough.
Not saying I'm good, but you know what I mean. People that work with kids, we don't want to hurt them. We don't want to damage them. We don't want to make them feel in any way uncomfortable. But it doesn't need to be it shouldn't be a political thing.
But now, so that's a great perspective from a teacher. Just one last voice on this. Jeff, can I ask you, where do you fall on this issue that the Tories have really kind of grabbed hold of?
Well, I would have to say though, I agree with it. I think there has to be that parental voice in the upbringing of your own children.
Yep.
They are growing, they are learning. You have to guide them. And if you and your child come to an agreement on how that guidance goes, then it's okay. But you still need to have that underlying parental responsibility. If you see that what they're doing is going to be a mistake because they're doing it for all the wrong reasons, that's what you're there for. We have to watch what's going on in Saskatchewan because they're going through it right now.
Yeah.
There's been more than enough protests and parades and stuff like that over the legislation they put in place that more than likely that the PCs are going to emphasize in this election, which they've done. So yeah, I agree with the policy.
Okay, that's good to know.
Can I have
Okay.
a word?
Maybe Laura, I'll just move on because I am watching the time. But put it in the chat if you really need to share. That's totally great. I don't want to forget Dougald-Lamont. We do have 3 parties in Manitoba, and so maybe I'll just do a little speed round here because I don't want to keep you too much past time here. Maybe give me some of your words for Dougald-Lamont, the Liberal leader. Maybe Andy, can I put you on the spot with that? Are you familiar with Dougald?
Very little, and that's probably my sentiment of that is somewhat irrelevant.
Okay. Do you know if you have a Liberal candidate running in your riding? Dawson. Yeah, Dawson.
If we do, he's not making himself very well known.
Okay.
We did have last time. I haven't seen any name this year.
Okay, fair enough. Cassidy, how about you? Dougald-Lamont, Liberal leader?
Based on just the website alone, I am feeling very positive towards him. I don't know him personally. I haven't seen a lot of his stuff, how he speaks, stuff like that. But based on the website and based on what they're after, I'm feeling very positive about it.
What about him makes you feel positive?
There's actual plan. And there's statistics and there's ways that they're actually going to try and make things better for Canadians and Manitobans specifically. Okay. I'm really liking what I'm seeing. It's not like it's hard to find. It's not, it's easily accessible to the people, which I really appreciate.
Okay, that's fair. Lauren, how about you? Dougald-Lamont, Liberal leader?
I have met Dougald, and I had one of my really close friends during university actually worked for him as a personal aide. So I would not vote for Dougald. I'm not a fan of him personally as the party leader. The Liberals in general, though, are kind of a different story. I don't know much about them this election just because I haven't followed them as closely. But I have nothing against the party itself.
Okay, great. Okay, good to know. Derek, last to you on this Dougald-Lamont question. Is that a name familiar to you? What do you know?
He is so well known that when it was mentioned in chat is the first time I've ever heard the name.
Oh, interesting. Okay. You haven't seen anything in the paper about him? You haven't seen him on TV? Nothing like that?
Well, yeah. I'm an exception from a lot of people here. I do not have any type of cable TV services. I have computers, but although I follow the news, I just follow very specific articles in very specific topics like science, math, and computer science, things that I took in university. I follow these specific areas. I have not seen anything like this on billboards, even when I travel through Winnipeg. Nowhere. I listen to the radio, haven't heard about it on the radio, even though I do listen to 89.3 and 98.3 on occasion and 107. Yeah. And from everything else, I do not get any form of ads popping up with any type of anything political. But likewise, I'm also not on any social media, so I don't have any type of Facebook or Instagram. So these names, unless I specifically research it myself, and this is what I want to know about the party, a lot of these names don't really stick with me. And mostly, I actually look for what the policies are and what they're doing. I don't care who's doing it.
Yep.
Some dog can be doing it, whatever you assign an AI could be doing it. As long as it's getting done, that's what I want to see. Okay.
Is anybody else like Cassidy where the Liberals are actually maybe kind of a party that you're considering? Mike, tell me.
You didn't ask me. He could be in the room right now. That's how much I know about him. Like one of these panelists could be the Liberal leader or a Liberal candidate. With the way the voting's shaping up, it's 40-40-11, and then like it's 40 PC, 40 NDP.
Yep.
It's kind of wherever. So as I've been doing research, it seems like it's irrelevant, and I feel like they may be thrown in the towel too. They're not going to get the vote. Let's focus on next round. But like we're not going to make her this time. It's a one of two choice. Looking like
is it?
By the poll.
Yeah.
So it's 40-40, 19-1 the last time I looked, just if anybody cares. And so even for myself, do I want PC or NDP? Because Liberal is not really a choice, and the Green Party is not really a choice.
Yeah.
And the Keystone Party isn't really a choice. Like they're a choice if you want to put in a 1% vote that's going to factor into nothing. But that's a choice.
Are others like Mike, where you think this really is kind of a 2-horse race? Laura, yes. Cassidy's thinking about the Liberals. Andy, it's pretty much a two-horse race. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, that's helpful to know. Okay, I'm going to ask you one. Go ahead, Mike, quickly.
I feel like they threw in the towel to save money for their next campaign.
Okay.
Like that's why I wonder why there's never advertising by NDP's never slander. Like they have to have someone that wants to tell
elbows up. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like I just don't understand. It doesn't seem to make sense in my whole 42 years of life.
So maybe that's a good segue to my last question for you folks, which is, what are you looking for in the next 2 weeks of the campaign? What issues haven't come up? What are you waiting on? Are you going to watch the debate? Are you talking to friends? What are you watching for in the next couple weeks-ish? Christian, can I start with you? Is there anything you're waiting on?
I think I just want to see how things that are being said, how they're actually going, more substance with them. So you can promise the world, you can promise opening 5 ERs, and, they're all great and they're great for, making the paper, but how is it actually going to be done? And, we're in this position where we don't have enough nurses and doctors in Manitoba. And to say you're going to open 5 more, that's great. I think someone said earlier you could have 10,000 jobs offered tomorrow, but you need those people to apply for them. And if it's not there, then what's the point? So I think in the next couple of weeks, that's the biggest thing, is just how are these things actually going to, what you say you're going to do, how are you going to do it?
The practical stuff. Okay. Cassidy, how about you? What are you watching for?
Kind of like what the others are saying, I'm really wanting somebody to follow through with what they're saying and not be like a hypocritical. They say one thing here and then do another thing here.
Yep.
Especially in the running of an election, I think it's really important to stay consistent.
Okay, good to know. Andy, maybe I'll give you the last word. What are you watching for?
Well, I'm keenly aware that I've become more cynical over the last few years with politics, even though politics was something I was quite heavily involved with. So this time around, I know my attitude right now is very cynical, that we're just going to hear fluff. I'll probably watch the debate, and I'll probably be in agony throughout that. But I'll be looking for something sincere, and that's, I'm hanging my hat on that hope that somebody's going to say something that comes across as sincere and not just a political rhetoric.
Okay. Is anybody else feeling a little bit cynical about politics, more than you might have been before? Laura, yeah. Mike, a little bit. Okay. Derek, maybe not so much. Do you have feelings of cynicism, or not so much?
I'm hopeful for the country. There are many issues within the country right now. We cause them ourselves as the individuals, not because of who we vote for, but also how we run our lives.
Yeah.
And we can't put that blame on the politicians, because it doesn't matter how much you tell a politician, this is what we want, because we're not willing to do it ourselves. This is why we are where we are today. So I am hopeful that one day that maybe change will happen, but it's not going to be a politician. It's not the government that can do it, because it doesn't matter how many more rights that we legislate away because that's what we think that we want. The truth is, we haven't even put in our own effort, and we're just looking for someone to blame. So, you know what? I'm still hopeful for this country. It started off incredibly strong, and I'm sure we could be there again one day.
Interesting. That's a good way to end it. A little personal responsibility for making the changes. I like it. Okay. Folks, you've been fascinating. I've heard a whole bunch of different things I wasn't expecting, things I kind of thought I'd hear, but in a really interesting way. You're quite a diverse group of voices. Mike, I'm actually going to let you go here. You're almost done here. I kept you a few more minutes. Tell me the last thing.
I just want to say one thing. Like, it's always a two-party race, though. It always is. The other one has no hope, ever. It's always that way in Canadian politics in my 42 years of life. Like, it's always a two. There's always two
leaders. Yeah.
The other vote is just those people that are so done with both that they're like, I'll just waste it. Like,
but
that's how it always seems
that
to play
sometimes
out
happens.
here.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Okay, folks, you're done.
Thank you for watching the CBC Manitoba YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. For the latest breaking news and top stories, download the CBC News app.